we've been working with designing, selling, installing geothermal heating systems at DMEA for about 12 years now. We've installed somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 plus systems now in western Colorado. So we tend to think about this a lot. So we say, you see a front yard, we see a power plant, because in the space right there in that yard, we can actually heat and cool your home, or we have at least a source that we can use to heat and cool your home. We've got more noise. So we're going to go through and look at some economics on how this works. We've got some programs going right now that make this even more affordable, and show you how it may be something that you might be interested in for your home. Geothermal, basically, we use the term geothermal, we probably should say GeoExchange. Basically what we do is in the wintertime, we pull heat out of the ground because we install a series of pipes in the ground at your house. That allows us to extract heat out of the ground. We go into a geothermal unit, or a furnace if you will, and we increase the heat, we distribute it through your house. Typically we do it with forced air, through ductwork and registers. Sometimes we do it with tubing in the floor, with in-floor radiant heat. We can do both. In the summertime, we just reverse the cycle. We take the heat from your house, it goes through the geothermal unit, and we put the heat into the ground. So by doing that, we actually cool your house. The only effective way to cool your house is with forced air. So most of the systems we do are forced air with a furnace, with a geofurnace, or with an existing gas furnace. And we use it both for heating and for air conditioning. Okay? There's basically three parts of a geosystem. The geofurnace, and I'll show you a picture of one here in a minute. So you have all of your furnace, your ductwork, or your floor distribution, like you'd have with any other heating system. It doesn't look that much different. There are some subtle differences, but it looks pretty common. The big difference is number 3, the ground loop. Where we have enough room and where the conditions allow, we will dig trenches with a backhoe. That's the most economical way to get pipe into the ground. If that's not possible, either because of space constraints, or we have some areas around here, especially up in Delta County, where it's just almost impossible to dig. So if that's the case, then we'll bring in a drill rig and we'll drill holes in the ground to put in a loop. In either case, the loops are sized for the geofurnace, so we've got the same capacity either way. And if you guys want to, anytime you have a question, just raise your hand. We'll try to hear you. Otherwise, we can try to talk at the end here. One of our programs is called DMEA's Loop Tariff. You maybe have seen some of that in the newsletter or in some of our ads in the paper or wherever. I just have to keep going. The highlights of the loop tariff are that the customer owns the geo equipment. So that's the same as if you're purchasing your loop or if you use the tariff. The tariff means that DMEA owns the ground loop and you don't have to buy it. It's based similarly to the principle that we own the power lines and your transformer and your meter and all of that, and you pay DMEA a base charge for your electric bill every month. In this scenario, you pay DMEA a monthly tariff fee, which is kind of like rent, to use the ground loop. One difference is if you ever want to buy the ground loop, you can. You can't do that with your meter and your power poles and all of that. But if you look at how the numbers work out, if you were to use the loop tariff, it's like using interest-free money for about 21 years before you would pay enough rent to have actually bought the loop. So it's a great way to shave off a lot of the purchase price and have an economical monthly fee to help offset the cost of that. This is a picture of a vertical ground loop where we would use a drill rig and put the pipes in the ground. We go down usually about 200 to 250 feet. As far as the tariff is concerned, what we're trying to show here is that at the foundation wall, from there inside, and this would be the geo furnace, then the customer, the homeowner would own everything from the foundation wall inside the house. DMEA would own everything from the foundation wall outside the house, which is just the geo loop. The only other thing there is we install some tracer wire so that we can go locate the loop for the future in case somebody needs to do some digging or whatever. So that's where the line of ownership changes, is right there. So it makes it real simple, real easy to say, well, this is on your side, this is on our side. And when we do this, when DMEA owns the loop, then if there's ever any service needed, then that's our responsibility. So you would have to grant us an easement so that we can access your property, just like there's an easement for the electrical service. And that way, if there's ever any service needed, we can get in. I can say that in over 600 systems now, we've never had to service a loop. Now, we have had some fun with loops. We found it's kind of dangerous if somebody gets a backhoe for Christmas. So we don't recommend that too often. But we do find that we can go in and we can repair them, but we've never had any problems with materials or workmanship. The loop tariff fees are broken down into two different kinds of loops. The horizontal loop is the kind we do with a backhoe. A real common size around Montrose is the 3-ton to a 4-ton size, $21.39 a month for a 3-ton, $28.52 a month for a 4-ton. That's our most common sizes that we install. Now the vertical systems, like the one we just had on the last picture, if you'll notice the 3-ton is $44.34 versus $21.39. So it's a little over twice as much if we have to do the vertical. So we always try to do the horizontal if we can, but there's just times that we don't have a choice. These amounts of money correspond to a budget for us to install that loop. So that gives us a bucket of money to install the loop, and there's never anything else that you have to be concerned about. We install the loop for that amount. If we know that you're living in a place where the conditions are extreme, we'll talk about that up front so it's not a surprise to you. This is what we call a vertical package unit, or in the other terminology, this would be the geo furnace right here. There's two sections. It's kind of hard to see, but there's two sections. There's a division right there behind that conduit. This is the geo unit up here. The geo unit is basically, it revolves around a compressor. So the compressor is the central device, and all the other parts that work with it are here. These two insulated lines going down through the floor, those are the lines that connect to the geo loop out in the ground. This particular house is located in Paonia, and we actually vertically drilled theirs for a couple. We had some access issues there, and so that was about the only way we could get it in. This lower portion here is the fan section. The fan section, if you'll notice, here's the return air duct coming down from the ceiling and goes into the side of the geo unit. there's a large heat exchange coil right here, and then we have the fan right behind that door. That's where the heat is transferred from the compressor into the air. The air then gets discharged down into the crawl space, into the ductwork, and they have floor registers where the warm air comes out into the rooms, okay? And then they've also got one of the newer style Marathon water heaters there. This is a package unit in the crawl space. Now this unit, instead of being tall, it's basically just laid over. It's about 6 feet long, and not too much different in dimensions the other ways as this pedestal here. But these folks, this was new construction. They didn't really have any space in the house for it. The house is about 1,600 feet, so they just didn't have any extra space that they wanted to give up. So they poured a little pad for us down here. Where I was at when I took this picture, I was actually at the stairs. So it's all really close right there. It's real easy to get to. And here's the pipes coming from the ground loop through our pumps, and from the pumps right into the Geo unit. The fan is right behind this portion here. So this makes a really nice, clean installation, especially if you just don't have space in the house to put it. So we try to be flexible. We try to make it the least obtrusive that we can. We still want it to be accessible for service, though. This little chart shows us how the numbers work out for a new construction application with the available incentives that we have right now. This is based on a 2,500 square foot home. It includes ductwork, the GeoExchange furnace, and a DMEA owned loop. A real close number for a new house right now would be about $26,000. That's turnkey job. The first thing is that we would deduct $6,819 because that's the budget that we have for this size of a loop. Now I don't think I have it here, but this is the loop that would be $28.52 a month on the fee would be on your bill every month. So if we deduct the $6,819, now your gross out of pocket is $19,181. Then we've got three other incentives to consider here. The first is the Tri-State rebate. We purchase power from Tri-State to sell to our members. Tri-State has recognized the value of geothermal for a number of years because it helps bring down the peak loads. And so they've incentivized our members, and on this size of a system, the rebate is $750. You'll receive that in the mail within a month or two after the completion of your installation. So when we deduct, and the reason why I've got these in this order is this is our understanding of the tax laws, and the accounting always makes things a little more interesting. So we would deduct this $750, so now we're at an investment of $18,431. This is the amount that qualifies under the current tax law for the 30% federal tax credit. That would be $5,529. When we deduct that, we're at $12,902. We've got one contract signed. We have one more to get signed where we can actually be offering a rebate from the Colorado Governor's Energy Office. This size of system qualifies for a $2,500 rebate. So when we deduct that, we find that your net out of pocket is $10,402. So you start at $26,000, your net out of pocket is $10,402. So it really does, there's a lot of impact there. Now, you may ask, what is your out of pocket to DMEA? In other words, what would you be paying us if we were your contractor? You're going to, you won't be paying the loop because we're going to take that amount off, so that's the $19,181. then we will go ahead and give you a deduct right at the time that we sign the contract for the governor's rebate, and we'll let them reimburse us for it later. So your out of pocket to us is going to be $16,681. Now, if you didn't do Geo, you'd have to do something. You'd have to have some kind of heating system. You could get a fairly basic system installed for this size of a house for probably around $11,000. That would be a conventional furnace, natural gas, propane, or electric, some ductwork, and an air conditioner. So in this example, you've already saved $598 to put Geo in compared to conventional. Because we've got the governor's rebate, it actually makes Geo less expensive to install than conventional. Now, in this size of a house, we project that the heating and cooling costs are $656 a year. If you have natural gas at today's rates, if you're comparing to that, you would save $448. Now, the next number here, the 342, what that is that's the $28 a month rental fee that you've paid times 12, because you've paid us that much money in a year. So we subtract that so you can make yourself whole, and so your net savings is $106. We've got very low natural gas rates right now, and so it's the difference in operating costs. It's not that significant at this point. Now, if you're heating with electric, that house would cost $2,229. Your savings is $1,573, which is just subtracting the Geo costs from this. Make yourself whole on your rent. You save $1,231 a year net in your pocket compared to heating with electric. At $2.25 a gallon for propane, your net savings is $13.57. It costs more to heat with propane now than it does with electric. It didn't used to be that way, but the costs have changed. And I don't know. I'm hearing that this $2.25 is kind of low on propane numbers right now. So it changes. Any questions on this? Okay. If you've got an existing home, one of the ways that we can retrofit your existing home is if you've got a furnace, if you've got forced air, then we can install a unit that looks very similar to this on a pad outside your house. Kind of looks like an air conditioner. The only difference is we can't see it here, but there's no fan in the top of it. But all it really takes on the outside of the house is a pad to put this Geo unit on, an electrical service to come in and power it. We'll run 2 copper lines into the house that's going to connect to a coil in your ductwork near the furnace. And what you can't see is the 2 Geo pipes are coming in out of the ground right here that go out to the loop field. But that's a pretty clean installation there. It's pretty unobtrusive. Here's how the numbers work on that. You got a 2,500 square foot home. It already has ductwork, a forced air furnace. It's either natural gas or propane, and DMEA owns the loop again. Total cost is right at $17,000. And these are real numbers. We subtract the loop allowance, $68.19 again. So now your gross out of pocket is $10,150. The tri-state rebate brings it down to $9,400. The federal tax credit brings it down to $65.80. $2,500 governor's rebate's the same as it was on the other system. So your net out of pocket is $4,080. Your out of pocket to DMEA is $76.50. This unit is not quite as efficient as the one that's in the house. If we can put the package unit in the house, it costs $30-some a year more to operate tying into your furnace than if we can put in a package unit. But still, that's very very good. So going back to the natural gas again, because it costs a little more to operate, we wind up with a net annual savings of $73. And I understand that's not hugely exciting, but at least it's positive money into your pocket. $1,198 if you're heating with electric. It's $1,324 if you're heating with propane at $2.25 a gallon. This type of installation we do a lot of. We're not doing much new construction these days. This type of installation works well with a stick-built house that has forced air ductwork. We find that we do a lot of modular homes. Folks that buy a modular, they move out as far away from town as they can get. Didn't really consider how much propane costs to heat their house. So then you go through the wood stove installation process and pellet stoves and different things. But a lot of folks wind up doing the Geo because it does two things for them. They can heat their house for that, and that includes the cost for air conditioning too. And they don't have air conditioning. So you can eliminate the swamp cooler if you don't like those. So it really simplifies everything. But if you look at this, if you're on propane, and this is the amount of money that you've invested, you can have that back in just a hair over 3 years. So that's a very good, very fast return on your investment. And that's it.